All right, so a special meeting is about to occur in Mexico Beach. And I'm going to try something I haven't done before. I'm going to try to hop in and we'll watch it live. And I want to explain to you what is happening in this special meeting. And it has to do with the city. The accountant a month ago up and resigned. They got a new mayor a couple of months ago when Michelle Miller upset the incumbent Al Cathy. Al Cathy has been the mayor in Mexico City since 2005. Now, there was a 2-year reprieve where in 2014 and 2015 where he was not the mayor, that he came back, he's been the mayor, and she upset him. And he's a big shot in Mexico City, Al Cathy. He owns an Ace Hardware store. Right when you drive in, you see the Ace Hardware store right there on the left. And he's been a big figure in the city of Mexico Beach. And they have a different form of government. Their city government says that the mayor is the CFO and the CEO, according to the charter. That's not the case in Panama City Beach, Lynn Haven, but it is in Mexico Beach. And that's never been a problem. Not really. It was questioned in 2015 when a different mayor was there, and they had it answered. They had it settled with the city's legal opinion, which correctly said, yeah, the mayor has a little more authority than the rest of you. All the rest of the councilmen are supposed to do, and councilwomen, are to vote on resolutions and ordinances. That's it. All power rests with them in that area. But the mayor, as Al Cathy explained not too long ago, I'll show it to you if we have time. He explained that, well, and everybody agreed until 2 months ago, that the mayor is actually the CFO and CEO of the city. Well, the city has received, here it is. We're going to be able to do it. The city has received $100 million or so in FEMA money since Hurricane Michael. But nobody knows really who got the checks. They kind of know in big block numbers. And today, 3 of the council members, especially Adrian Welly, who's sitting right up next to the new mayor on her left, he used to be the clerk. He says he knows all about the finances. He says it'll be boring if you take a look and see what's in there. We trust you, Adrian, but we want to verify, okay? The CFO should have full access to the finances, to the contracts, to who got checks. Am I right or wrong? Well, today, 3 of the incumbent council members are going to try, I believe, they're going to try to say, no, we have to vote in who's the next staff member, who's the next accountant. It's always been just chosen by the city administrator under the guidance of the CFO, the mayor. But right now, we're going to tune in right now. The city is freaking out that the mayor just might be able to hire an accountant, and the mayor might get to look inside the city's finances. All right, let's see if we can get into this. It's live right now, and I'm going to try to share the screen of Mexico Beach. Look at that. Let's tune in, and I'll comment throughout.
From like 2016 to 2018, we did both. We had an accounting firm and someone in-house, and that helped with our internal control. So that might be an option too, doing both.
Time. I don't think that's what we need is time. I think we need to go ahead and try to get us somebody, and the money we're going to spend for a firm, I don't think we can get it for that price. I mean, during the budget, I think that's when we'd be a good time. Try to get us a firm. I don't think we'll get us an accounting firm, and you can't do both of them audits and accounting at the same time. Yeah, get a house, but we need somebody.
So this guy's really, really concerned about it. He's worried. Watch closely the 2 guys closest to us. That's City Administrator Doug Baber on the right. He's the only one with a key to all the finances. And across from him is the city attorney, Clint McCahill. Watch them look at each other.
RFQ, because this is an employment. It does go over the scope of the purchasing authority to $15,000, so that would move it into an RFP category. It's a continuing services agreement that you have to have. So similar to what we did for Clint McCahill when we hired him, we did an RFP for that.
But you did it after, because you were in a tight situation where your attorney just left. You hired me temporarily, and then
You
to
still
hold
applied.
hold it over, and then you did a request.
He still applied for the RFP. He didn't automatically do it. It's
Right.
similar to where we are, just like
But
Mr. Smith said, we're in an emergency situation.
That's what I was gonna say. Could, is there a possibility we could get a firm temporarily, then move forward with an RFP?
I mean,
We
for
did
an
have,
emergency
we
situation,
did
can do whatever you guys
have one
want.
firm apply.
We did,
Yeah.
but we didn't reach out
And
to any of them.
I don't know, I don't remember what firm that was.
Yeah, they're 1 million in revenue and about 4 or 5 in.
So the guy closest to us on the right, he's the one who's most nervous. That's Doug Baber. He's the city administrator, the only guy with the key to all the finances and contracts. The two council members sitting next to her and the one in the red shirt, they're the ones who are freaking out. They say they got to vote for the next accountant.
Similar to what Debbie was currently doing, is we were trying to keep the wheels on the car.
So not an employee either, but a contract.
It would not be an employee. I mean, you can make it an employee if the council decides to add a position to the budget, but right now we don't have a position for it.
But back to table, that's a great suggestion. I think it's a great option. I don't know, I know we're budgeted up to 60,000, and I don't know until we have the new budget what that would look like going forward. We could hire somebody that would be part-time contract and then still look for fun.
And then that person could also apply should they have a private company or something themselves. So you wouldn't rule that person out. You could still have options if you would.
And, that's another thing about being a contract employee. That doesn't mean that we're going to get that quality work, because they can hire it out. As a contractor, they can hire out somebody else to do the work. And, they could subcontract, and that's not, I don't think that's in the best interest of this council.
You could put it in the
That would
contract.
be in the
You
contract.
could put it in the contract.
So,
So, well, thank you for the discussion. We'll move forward to our first interview.
And I just remind y'all to speak up,
Speak up.
because some of you have good voices and some of you are a little low, okay?
Thank you. I get reminded that quite often, by the way. I think I'm talking louder than I am. Maybe it's my hearing.
All right, so they're going to actually interview a few of the prospective new accountants. And I don't want to cast aspersions on any of them because I don't know them. They could all be great candidates, all right? But I do want to tell you that the last accountant who was hired, Debbie, I believe, was hired by the CFO and by the city administrator, the CFO's assistant, who's the guy on the bottom right. So what I don't want to do, all right, I'm going to figure out how. All right. All right. So what I've done, oh boy. All right. So what I've done is I'm going to sort of hold off on the interviews of the prospects, and I'm going to try to not be as blurry. So, not as blurry. Magic. But I do want to look at your comments, and I do want to. I am going to stick with this. And after they do the interviews, which is a lot of personal stuff, and it's public. You can watch it right now. You can bail and watch it. But what I'm most interested in is catching you up to speed about why this is brazen and absurd. Because the mayor's authority, duties, and responsibilities as the CFO while the city was bringing in about $100 million in FEMA money following Hurricane Michael was never in question. When it was old Al Cathy, the mayor, who's good friends and reminds me a bit, I got to tell you, reminds me a bit of Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas was the former mayor of Panama City Beach. And very domineering sort of figure, charming guy, business owner. He owns Ace Hardware, the big Ace Hardware store when you drive in to Mexico Beach. And when he was, in fact, I'm going to show you, when he was the mayor just last year, nobody questioned his authority to hire an accountant, a staff position. But now that the voters have elected another mayor who says, I think everybody needs to know who the checks have been written to. Now, all of a sudden, Mexico Beach is freaking out. You don't have that authority. We got to vote on whatever people can see. These are public records. And gosh, do I need to go through all this? There's a lot to this. Here's the city administrator. So Doug Baber he got there in 2021. And the city administrator is like the assistant to the CFO, the mayor. And that's never been in question. But now the incumbent council members, they're trying to say, no, he's the boss. He's like a city manager. You're just a figurehead. You're just ceremonial. You're not the CFO. That's what the attorney and Doug Baber have told the new mayor who was elected a couple of months ago. But can I show you what Al Cathy, the former mayor, said? Oh, do I have it? Well, let me show you a couple of things here. I want to show you, let me get this. Forgive me. I want to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you what they're doing. So when she first got there and she said, look, I need access to all the finances. She said, look, we're in a financial crisis.
But there has to be some oversight, especially our financiers. We're in a crisis financially, whether y'all know it or not. We are currently in a financial crisis with our internal controls and with losing Debbie.
Part of the reason she said that is the accountant had resigned, surprisingly, about a month ago. The city administrator, who I just showed you, Doug Baber, he has postponed the audit. And so now they don't have an accountant. They don't have an audit. Only one person has access to all the financial records, and that's Doug Baber. Doug Baber is the same guy, by the way, who in 2011 worked for the city of Hallandale. He was the son-in-law. All right. Hallandale Beach is suing the son-in-law, Doug Baber, who was the son-in-law of city manager Mike Good, for failing to repay thousands of dollars in tuition reimbursements. It was in 2011, the city the city administrator for Mexico Beach, in 2011, he left Hallandale Beach and he got tuition reimbursements. And he earned a master's degree. And he didn't pay it back. And so the city sued him. Look here. But 1 week before the city sued him, the current city administrator for Mexico Beach, he filed bankruptcy, according to the BrowardBulldog.org. to discharge private debts up to $1 million. Now, I'm not telling you this to pile on Doug Baber, the current city administrator for Mexico Beach. I'm telling you this because I don't claim to be an expert in management. I'm terrible at it, actually. But I know that if the only guy with the key to the bank was sued by a city in 2011 for not paying the tuition reimbursements, and then filed bankruptcy a week before that, discharging up to $1 million, that's probably not the person we want to have the only key to the bank of the city. All right. We have some internal control problems. And that's what the last 2 audits have shown in Mexico Beach, that they've got some internal control problems. But the let me just show you while they're talking. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So the guy with his head on his hand there, that's Adrian Welly. Adrian Welly was the clerk of the city, and the clerk of the city used to have more access to the finances, right? So he's been there 10 years. He says he knows all about the finances and there's no problem, and we need to vote on who can see it. That's what Adrian Welly says. And Doug Baber, I've been telling you about, he's on the bottom right. He said, that's right. I'll give you, if you want to see something, I'll give you a report. You don't need to go poking around. He said it's dangerous to do that. Doug Baber said, here, I'll show you. He said there's a lot of, like, if you just go poking around, anything could happen. And a lot of it's not good. Watch.
The IT rule of thumb generally is to provide users with the lowest access necessary so that they don't have too much access to the system. So that's what we practice with our internal controls. We also have things that would limit the possibility of misinterpreting information. Should you run a report or accidentally alter a report, even if view only, you could download a report and then change it. I do feel that there's concerns that if you download documents from our software system onto your personal computer, that personal computer becomes a public record, opens up your personal computer to public record searches. I do think that there's a possibility for password sharing. The opportunity behind I cannot manage up for a council member. You guys are my bosses. I report to you. Should you do one of those things even by accident, if I have a staff member that does that, there's repercussions for that. Should they, cause some kind of issue, we can deal with that.
I just realized what I did. I just realized that the volume was muted. Here's what he said.
The IT rule of thumb generally is to provide users with the lowest access necessary so that they don't have too much access to the system. So that's what we practice with our internal controls. We also have things that would limit the possibility of misinterpreting information. Should you run a report or accidentally alter a report, even if view only, you could download a report and then change it. I do feel that there's concerns that if you download documents from our software system onto your personal computer, that personal computer becomes a public record, opens up your personal computer to public record searches. I do think that there's a possibility for password sharing. The opportunity behind I cannot manage up for a council member. You guys are my bosses. I report to you. Should you do one of those things even by accident, if I have a staff member that does that, there's repercussions for that. Should they, cause some kind of issue, we can deal with that internally, but I can't manage up. So I just want to make sure those points were addressed when you guys make your decision. Ultimately, I'll do whatever you want. It's a transparent public record. You can ask me for a document. I don't think we've ever turned you down for any reports that you might actually have to have. So we're open the presentation for the 6-month review.
I don't know how long I was on mute, but I'll pay much more attention to that, and I won't make that mistake again. So that's Doug Baber. He said, look, I'll do whatever you want, but there's a lot of problems if the CFO has full access to the finances. And the guy to the left, Jerry Smith, Councilman Jerry Smith, he was real concerned. He wasn't concerned. He was not concerned when Al Cathy was the mayor and asserted his authority as the CFO. But he's real concerned now about liability.
He says to file. I don't like that. I think whatever you want, I believe you ought to. And then I got all the literature like you got that says our administrator, you can ask him for what you want.
And I did.
And he can give you what you want, not access to the files, but whatever you're looking for in the computer system, he'll get it for you and cross out everything that shouldn't be put out there to the public.
Again.
Ma'am, I'm not through, please. I checked in on it. Please. Thank you. And it's a very much a liability, bad liability. And I give you some, for instance, too, that it could leak out and get a contract with another contractor to get out that information, and then the city will be liable. And Now, the way we got it now is Doug would be liable for that and not the city council meeting. I do not think
the way it's set up now, just our fall guy is the city administrator. That's the way we got it set up now. We want to keep it that way. We got $100 million or so of FEMA money, and we just want to make sure that the only fall guy is our internal threat. I mean, our city administrator, the only guy with the key to the bank. Mexico Beach is freaking out that public records, contracts, who's getting the checks, that's all super secret stuff. And that's that same councilman, Jerry Smith, he said, look, are we gonna vote on this or not? We need to know what we're dealing with here.
Well, I'd like to know, what do you expect from the council? What do you want us to do? What is your plan or agenda? That way we'll know what we're up against. Now we don't know. I mean, it's the city's in a turmoil with our employees and at the office up there.
What are we up against here, lady? We didn't have this trouble when Al Cathy was our guy. What are we up against here? So now, as they try to replace the accountant, the only accountant they had that resigned suddenly, now they want to vote on it. And the city administrator, Doug Baber, said, look, please don't go, Mayor, please don't go calling the accountant company. It's really dangerous. It's bad for the city. Just act through me. I'll give you everything you need.
Yeah, so that's the best I can tell you. Ever since this happened on Friday, I've been struggling to get forward path process on this, and we have that. So I just urge you guys to act through me if you don't mind. I mean, I'll be glad. I deal with each one of these contractors on a daily basis.
And again, this was.
This is detrimental to the city of Mexico Beach.
This could have been avoided.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely could have
Very
been.
beginning.
If nobody told them that there was a conflict of interest with our accountant.
And nobody said anything about it.
This could just act through. I'll get whatever you need. I'll go. I'll bring you a report. You don't need to see it for yourself. Now, he was hired about in 2021, and the former mayor, who never had this kind of pushback, he was excited when Doug Baber was hired as city administrator just about 2 years ago.
Doug seemed to be the right fit for our little city, and so we didn't want to pass up an opportunity to get who we thought. It was a unanimous decision.
Besides his several years of experience in municipal government, Cathy says they also looked for someone they felt would be able to engage the community.
But in Mexico Beach, just like our charming community, we want to have a charming government. We want people that work here to reflect who we are, and Doug fit the bill.
New city.
That's all we just did. If we just have a charming city government, as we get $100 million of FEMA money, and don't need people poking around. Look, Adrian Welly, he's a current. Let's go ahead and we'll listen in to some of the interviews, because they're doing interviews of applicants for the part-time accounting position in Mexico Beach. The council seems to think that they need to vote to hire the next accountant. Now, that's contrary to the city charter. That's contrary to the custom of how the city's hired accountants in the past. It's, let's just say, very unusual. But it looks like they're thanking one of the applicants, and we'll watch the other applicants. And I want to, because I don't know any of the applicants, I want to start under the assumption, could you imagine you being interviewed and scrutinized? So I don't want to scrutinize any applicants. And if I see anything like that, I'm just going to delete the comment. So please don't do that. Let's be kind to the people who are applying for jobs. All right. My criticism is of the council, the city attorney, and the city administrator who are trying to hide something, it seems to me. All right. All right, let's take a look in here. All right. Let's see what's happening.
This
Yeah,
is
I
part-time
can
and
juggle both.
kind of on your own.
Yeah, it's not.
We do have,
Look, I went from working
transition.
70 hours a week at the clerk of court to working 40 hours a week.
And this is happening. This is happening right now.
Again, we appreciate you coming, and, you know, that's why we kind of want to get somebody started really soon, because we do have a transition that we need to make.
Can you clarify that a little bit? I mean,
So the reason. So the reason that they make sure I don't mess up on the volume again. The reason that they are having this special meeting, which they shouldn't even be having, to be honest with you, is because, and this is live, is because the council, 3 members of the council, the 2 next to the lady mayor, Madam Mayor, and the councilman in the red shirt, they want to pick the accountant. All right. They don't want to do it the way the city's always done it. They don't want to do it according to charter. They want to pick the accountant themselves. So the new mayor, only being the mayor for 2 months, she said, all right, well, look, I'm going to decide. I'm the CFO, and along with the city administrator, Doug Baber. But if you want to have some input, we'll gladly take your input. So the only way we can all talk is during a public meeting. So we'll have a public meeting on the issue. Now, I don't think that's fair for the applicants, because that means that their interview process is so public. And these are not people. These are not positions that are, what's everybody doing? Let's see what everybody's doing.
What did he say?
Cape, he said Cape the Coast or something.
Cape Sandblast?
Cape Sandblast vacation.
Maybe they're looking for the next candidate. It's ended. I'll be available to watch on the Government Sound Live shortly. So I guess they just put it on pause until they get the next applicant. So I'll hang with you. But what I want to tell you is this meeting was totally unnecessary. If they were hiring a city clerk or maybe even arguably, I would disagree and I'll explain. A city administrator, they could say, okay, this position serves at the pleasure of the council. So therefore the council hires and fires, right? This is not one of those positions. This is a staff position. This is completely unnecessary. Now, the reason I would argue that a city administrator, although the city ordinance that was voted on and adopted in 2005 says that the city administrator is not a city manager, it's a city administrator, is hired and fired and works at the pleasure of the council, that violates the city charter, which stands above any ordinance. They cannot do that. You say, Bernie, it's not in conflict. All right, well, let's think it out. Let's think it out. If the CFO, the mayor, is the boss of the city administrator is basically the helper to the mayor, to the CFO, and CFO/CEO. So the city administrator is a full-time position and is accountable to the CFO, CEO. To say that for the ordinance, the 2005 ordinance, to claim that the city administrator is hired and fired at the pleasure of the council itself means that you've just stripped away the CFO, CEO authority of the mayor. Because as long as 3 people, let's say the city administrator is being subordinate to his boss, the mayor, Al Cathy, the former mayor, or Michelle Miller. Who should be able to administer appropriate punishment? The boss, right? Not the board. That's how the charter set things up. Because if the council can override the CFO with 3 votes to 1 or 2, then the CFO is not really the CFO or CEO. You see what I'm saying? So the ordinance actually is in conflict with the charter and should be repealed. The current situation where they're desperately trying to find an accountant that the council wants for some reason, this is a circus. It shouldn't be happening. And as soon as they go back live, what I'm interested in, okay, they are back. I think what I'm interested in, no, it looks like they're not live, is what are they going to do? Are they going to have are they going to clash? Is what I'm curious about tonight is, will this council attempt a coup? Will they say that we're going to vote? We all say we need to vote to hire the accountant when that's not the case. It's never been done that way in the past, and the charter doesn't permit it. You say, but Bernie, the charter, maybe I have something I can show you on the charter. I do. Look at this. The charter says, okay, look at this. The second paragraph. It is noteworthy that the charter reserves authority to the council, including statement in section 2.07, that the powers and duties of the mayor shall be such as conferred upon him by state laws, this charter, and the city council. But it's in that order. Those are called the rules of statutory construction. It's not city council first, charter second, state laws third. It's completely the opposite. It's state laws first, charter second, and council third. This statement, and this is from their legal opinion in 2015. This is the city's 2015 legal opinion. This statement certainly has some effect. However, it cannot provide a means to amend this charter without a referendum. That's the legal opinion right there. Look at this. This memorandum, the 2015 legal opinion of the city, concludes, look at the kind of 2/3 of the way down, that the city is governed by a mayor-council form of government. Again, different than Panama City, different than Lynn Haven, different than Panama City Beach. So if you're familiar with those, this is different. The mayor has powers beyond those of another individual council member. And there were some ordinances that established formally the city administrator position. But those ordinances, this is the city's attorney in 2015, should not be interpreted to have established a council manager form of government by removing the mayor's powers and granting them to the city administrator. The mayor and city administrator have concurrent authority regarding some areas of city administration. Concurrent authority, but the chief authority, as it is stated in the city charter, belongs to the mayor. And they've always known this. They've always operated this way. All right, now I'm in an awkward pause because, and maybe what I'll do is just go live again if they go live again, because I really want to see how this meeting concludes. Let me see if and you can do the same, by the way. If you go to Mexico Beach, it's on Facebook, the City of Mexico Beach Government. City of Mexico Beach Government. That is where the live stream is. And they still don't have. It was a 27-minute stream that they had. And it has not gone live again. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at your comments, answer some questions, argue with you a little bit if you want. I'll take some challenging statements and disagreements and do my best to answer. I'll do that. And I'll keep an eye on if they go live again. So let me see what you've got to say, and I will do my best to answer your questions and challenges. Like, what the hell are you even concerned about this? You don't live in Mexico Beach. I'll answer that one. You're not reading it right. You're only reading part of it. I'll answer all these questions for you in just a minute. But first, I do want to thank my sponsors.
Is your past ruining your future? Having your record sealed or expunged wipes the slate clean, providing you with a new opportunity in life. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 215-0628.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right, let me look at the comments. A lot of them are going to be your microphone is mute, I bet. Oh, wow, you got a bunch of comments. All right, I'm going to look through these, see what I can do. Why don't they just let her do her job? Just Mary, give her the budget, big man. Vicky Gaynor can help. No! Are you nuts, Lee? Are you crazy? She's the city manager for Lynn Haven. Somebody give a thumbs up. Thank you. They're going to have to hire an accountant, but the accountant has the right to give her the budget, correct? So why are they doing this the hard way? Well, the accountant would answer to the city administrator, and the city administrator would answer to the mayor according to the charter. So they thought they'd literally be rebuilding a whole city. They can do whatever they wanted with it, not be questioned. And that's a good point, Carmen. So some people have said, well, you're not even a resident here. What the hell do you care? And my answer is that is a pretty brazen and crazy statement. Once your little sleepy city that was devastated by the hurricane, look, I live here too. We were too. But Mexico Beach got it worse than anything, maybe in the history of America. And Mexico Beach deserves to have that pier back already. Mexico Beach deserves to be rebuilt. And the people who were hurt deserve to be made whole again. This $100 million should not be used, and I suspect it has been, as a slush fund for elected officials and their friends who are contractors and who I suspect get kickbacks if they're like the rest of the local government officials. So once a city starts getting $100 million of FEMA money, it's all of our business. Is that a fair answer? You know it's a fair answer. Baber is looking for a new house out of state right now as we speak. I don't know about all that. A bit off topic. What happened to Mario? Did he work? Okay, so Benita, Mario was the city manager in Panama City Beach, and then he left in, I think, 2019, maybe 2020, probably 2020. And for 2 years, he was the city administrator with Al Cathy in Mexico Beach. And those audits showed serious internal control problems, to which the current city councilman, Adrian Welly, says that's normal in a little town. We don't even have enough staff to keep up with things. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's always internal control problems. What's everybody freaking? That's what Adrian Welly's saying. He sits right to the left of the mayor. He used to be the city clerk. It was him and Mario and Al Cathy handling the finances. You might want to talk to Adrian Welly if you've got questions, because he says he knows it all. That's all I'm saying. Nick says, thanks for all you do. Thank you very much. If I'm missing some of you, I'm sorry. Oh, so I never did answer your question. So Benita, he resigned in 2021, Mario, after 2 years. Got a sweet gig like he did in Panama City Beach 2 years prior. And that's when they brought in Doug Baber as the city administrator. I'm confused as to why. Oh, I should be showing you these. I'm confused as to why Baber has so much power over the city. Why is what he says goes over him? So he doesn't by right or by charter. And he did not under Al Cathy, the former mayor. Remember, Michelle Miller was elected just 2 months ago. This was never a problem back then, only after a new mayor came in and grabbed a flashlight and said, where are the finances and the contracts? I'm the CFO. So he's getting cover from the city attorney, Clint McCahill, who said something else entirely last year and acted on it. And 3 of the council members, Councilman Jerry Smith, who said that there's bad liability letting this lady go in there with a flashlight looking around. It's bad liability, he said. And then you've got Adrian Welly, who says, look, you're not going to see anything anyway. And then you've got the vice mayor now, Richard Wolf, who says, didn't you read your job description, woman? That happened. That happened. He didn't say woman, but he mumbled something under his breath. That really happened. All right. Let's see. Net job taxpayership, complete transparency. Yeah, I agree, Michelle. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, public record. They're hiding the checks. Who got the checks? What companies were written checks? How much money have they gotten over the past year, over the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Bad liability, says Jerry Smith, to find out that kind of stuff. Things should only be deemed classified public. Yeah, so in other words, Social Security numbers, active bids, maybe even things like that. Way to go, buddy. Oh my. Yeah. How is it detrimental? That's exactly right. Yeah. Oh yeah. That was something there, Jennifer. What was I supposed to say? Yes, sir. I know. I mean, it's all I could come up with when I'm not an educated man. It made me think of a movie, but I tried to just comport myself properly and professionally while I was sitting in there. Let's see. I'm just reading these over. Jody says, that's right. The FEMA money is taxpayer money, so it's all of our money, and we have the right to the answers. Benita says FEMA slush funds are rampant throughout local counties. That's for sure. So if any of you disagree with me and want to ask me a tough question, you got me on the spot live. You know, you got me. I'm going to have to answer. I also need to be not as blurry. All right. There, I think I'm not as blurry. My lighting is not as good either tonight. Here in the Liberty Lounge. Early show. But if you've got let's see. Yeah, that's it. Yes, we want to know who got the checks. They're hiding that. I mean, they're not going to be able to hide it forever. Look, this city has put off its audit. Their accountant left. And the city administrator is saying it's too, and the council saying too much liability if you get to look at the public records, the finances, the contracts, who got the checks. You know, one of the things these organizations need to do with their internal controls is to segregate the duties, right? So the same person who's writing the checks is not the same person reconciling the finances, who's not the same person talking to the auditors, the only one. I mean, there are certain things you got to segregate these jobs out. Yeah, exactly, Gap. But a forensic audit costs money, and I would think the CFO could call for one, but if it's going to cost over a certain amount of money, the council would have to vote on that. And Jerry Smith, Adrian Welly, and Richard Wolf don't want that. They don't want a forensic audit. They don't even want the CFO looking at it. All right, so If there are no challenge, if you got any challenging questions, I definitely want to answer. And if they're not live again, let's see. Does Mexico Beach contract an emergency management firm to coordinate FEMA projects, record-keeping and reimbursement, or is FEMA coordination handled in-house? I don't know that answer, but I'll be getting some answers. FBI will audit for free. I'll tell you this, Lee. I know that the FBI knows about this. But you know that there's two-tiered justice in America. Two-tiered justice in Bay County. It reminds me a little bit, if I may. Oh, this is where it's going to get spicy. But I have to say it. It reminds me a little bit of the Epstein client list. The FBI and the Justice Department, they know who's on that list. Right? They know who the clients were. And it was them. Sometimes it was them. What if, after investigating local cities and counties, Bay County Sheriff's Office has been doing it? They know all about it. Where'd the money go? Who got their houses cleaned? Who got big giant generators that cost like $600 a day and got to keep them? Who was able to inflate the prices, start new companies, get the contracts? Who got the kickbacks? Where did the money go? They know the answers. Bay County Sheriff's Tommy Ford's Public Trust Unit has a dossier on all these people. They got the names. But for some reason, and it always gnaws at me that it reminds me of the Epstein client list, maybe some of the names are the same. I am guessing now. If I tell you it's a fact, I'll show it to you. If I'm just saying, but I do know they know. I do know they know. And I do know they're looking at their watch going, man, what's it called? The 5 years. Somebody help me with the term I'm reaching for. Statute of limitations. 5 years. But actually, a government official in Florida could commit a crime 10 years ago, and the statute of limitations runs out in 5 years. Theirs continues until they leave office 2 years beyond that. So there are some officials that may have done some illegal stuff, and they're still on the hook for 2 years after they leave office. Government officials, not just elected officials. But I know for sure that there's very selective enforcement. And it's very disappointing. It's kind of like mutual assured destruction, right? Because if they arrest one mayor, that mayor may do what? Cooperate with the government. And then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people are on the hook, like judges. At least that's what the confidential informants told the FBI. That's public record now. Confidential informants told the FBI, and the names of the judges are redacted, but we know who they are. They got pole barns built. They got stuff. So, you start to wonder, maybe it's mutual assured destruction that keeps everybody safe. But I think it's even bigger than that. Yeah, can you imagine the CFO has to do a public record request? She's going to get in there. Benita says, bullseye. Yes, there is definitely a protection racket around here. Jennifer, thank you. I appreciate it. Who got a condo remodeled after remodeling someone else's dime? I don't know. Yes, that's the truth right there for sure. Especially when I was misled for 5 years by them. Talk about a heartbreak. Check aisle 10 at Ace Hardware. Hey, check aisle 10 at Ace Hardware. That's the store that the former mayor owns, Al Cathy. Let's see. Amy says, if not, but when they do find funds mishandled, they can go back to the former mayor or his hands have been washed clean. Well, we'll see if they have any interest at all. If the meeting is not live streaming, I'm going to, it is. So they're doing they're doing meeting number 2. This is going to take forever. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think what I'm going to do is go live again when the interviews are over, and we're going to watch live to see if there's a coup attempt or if they're going to do the right thing and just give their input so the CFO and the city administrator can pick a staff person, which doesn't require a council vote. That's what I'll do. All right. So I'll just come back. And I want to thank, of course, Little John's Big and Tall in Pensacola.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
I just don't think listening to the interviews serve the public interest. I think this entire meeting is dumb and should not have been called. I think these should be done behind closed door, and any applicant who's already nervous enough to apply for a job should have that respect, So, but I do think it's a big public interest to find out how the council responds to the mayor when the interviews are over.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com.
So I'll be back if they go live, and it is interesting, and I suspect it will be. I'll be back live, so keep an eye out.